Hello, this is Cate Stillman with Yogahealer.com, and welcome back to my podcast. I'm going to do my next series on the book that is releasing in a few weeks, Master of You, which I wrote over the past few years, and I wrote it in conjunction with teaching a course called Awake Living. In Awake Living, the course curriculum eventually became the book, which we thought we were going to call Awake Living. But I had a meeting with Sounds True Publishing, my publisher, and we decided that Master of You was actually a better title. So in any case, it's based on the 5 elements that come from Ayurveda, that come from really any holistic wisdom tradition. They may have slightly different concepts of elements, but they're more or less aligned, that who you are is nature. And the more you can connect with nature, the more you can awaken the power of you and live your life on purpose. And live a life of deep meaning and live your own unique journey, your own unique destiny, if you will. And so Master of You is releasing March 17th. I'm doing this series between now and then on the book, on Master of You. And I hope to give you a bit of a journey into the book. I would really appreciate you pre-ordering the book or ordering the book, depending on which side of it you're listening to it on. It really helps. So if these shows resonate, I promise the less than $15 US you will invest in the book will be also very interesting and worth your while. And there's a free workbook that goes with it when you buy the book. All right, enough promotion. On to the show. So this is a book about Dharma. This is a book about deeper purpose. This is a book that helps you uncover who you are and how to steer more towards what you want, and how that's good for you and it's good for everyone else. So I start the book with this quote, and I'm going to do in this series a few readings from the book, and I'm just going to talk about my experience and what drove me to ultimately write a book about Dharma, which seems somewhat audacious right now, like more audacious than I think I originally intended when I set out about writing. What I was really doing is writing in demand from course members. My course members were graduating from Living Ayurveda course and from yoga health coaching. And they're like, what's next? Like, what are you doing next? Like, what are you learning? They know I'm an innovator. I'm a futurist with a background as an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner and as a serious yoga teacher, and they were wondering what I was doing and applying in my own life and how I was doing that. And they were wanting me to teach them. And as a curriculum creator, which is part of my Dharma, I somehow create curriculums out of past experience, out of the ether, out of deep wisdom teachings from the ancient wisdom traditions of yoga and Ayurveda. And I bring them into practical life skills for modern humans. Like myself, like my courses are hard for me too. That's often surprising for my course members, but they are. They're hard, but they're effective. They work. And there's a lot of synergy, fascinatingly enough, between what I've learned as a businesswoman. So as someone who's grown a company, who's grown Yogahealer into $1 million plus company. And that's actually less than 2% of women in the United States have done that. So fascinatingly, it's not a large group of people that really want to go after and grow their business and like do the hard things. But as I did that, I noticed that the path of business, the path of the marketplace is actually parallels yoga philosophy on the yogic path. Like it's hard and it's worth it. And you come up against yourself a million times and need to dissolve your ego to move on. So all of this led me to lead this course, this Awake Living course, this course where what I found was that the 5 elements, that how I was using space, my environment, my home, how I was designing with space element, how I was using my time, which is air element, the movement across space that measures time, travel, distance, that how I was using time, about how I was using fire, which is ambition, like how much I was attuned to deeper dreams, bigger goals, a fiery life purpose, how I was coming into deeper integrity with myself, into deeper states of flow or water element, and how I was grounding my physiology so that I could handle more, how I was building resilience through body rhythms, earth element, that I had stumbled across a system that I was applying the 5 elements of Ayurveda into directing my life with deep purpose and deep meaning and deep reward. I mean, personal reward, professional reward, familial reward, like just a very rewarding life where I get thanked for being me all the time. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. I get to do what I want and I get thanked for it. So people were asking me in my courses, like, can you, shed some light? Can you guide us? Like you've guided us into living Ayurveda, the practical life skills course for self-healers. Like you've guided us through yoga health coaching, which is a very practical course for wellness pros to earn a great living and to get their clients to results faster and in a more fun way. They're like, can you do this whole like Dharma life thing that you got going on? And I said, sure, because that's just the nature of me, is let the community lead. I listen and see where we go. And what happened was over the course of a few years is these iterations of the Awake Living course, where I was like, wow, it's working. Like my people were getting results. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have a system. We have yet another system. Just like in Body Thrive, where I wrote that book on the habits of Ayurveda, like was a system behind how you actually evolve your habits and align with deeper rhythm. So with Master of You, we have a system on Dharma. And in these next few podcast episodes, I'm going to go through those 5 elements and create an episode for each of those episodes. What this episode is about is what is Dharma? What is Dharma for you? Like, what is Dharma for you right now? What is Dharma for you in the next chapter of your life? So the book starts with this quote by Maslow. Abraham Maslow from Road Signs for Success. And the quote is, "The story of the human race is the story of men and women selling themselves short." So I kind of did that as a wake-up call because I know many people live a life that's fine. It's fine. And there's a question of like, is fine good enough? And in the yogic tradition, it's not. It's not. Like full realization is the goal of yoga. Sometimes it's called self-realization, but the idea is it's full. It's not kind of going part way, but it's who are you? And are you awake to who you are as the cosmos? And are you awake to who you are as an individual? And are you awake to who you are right now in the world? Ata is the first word in the Yoga Sutras. It's now, like hello now, right? And so this is a bit of a wake up call. Like, are we me, you, and the next person? It's like, are we indeed selling ourselves short? Or are we leaning actively into our potentiality and becoming that? All right. So that's where we start. Now, I want to talk a little bit about transformation. So Bob Anderson, who's the author of Mastering Leadership, a book I highly recommend, especially for those who are not of the faint of heart when it comes to leadership books. It's full of data and it's phenomenal. So Bob Anderson writes, "Transformation is an acquired taste, not for the faint of heart. However, significant cultural shifts and performance require it." That's the deal. So if we want to shift culture, if we even want to shift our family culture, if we even want to shift the culture, that's the culture we're living in, our work culture, our home culture, our extended family culture. If we want to shift something, this is fascinating to understand that transformation is required. Performance requires it too. So if we want to perform better in any aspect of our own life, to know that transformation is required, that's helpful. And to me, transformation and yoga really are the same things. Like yoga is a life of transformation where you're in continual deep presence with beingness and you're on a path that's going somewhere, that's doing something. So my sense is that we want purposeful lives, that we want resilient bodies, inspired and inspiring homes. We want substantial relationships, and we want innovative projects. So living your life aligned to your purpose and potential, that is the transformation, and that is the process. And that's what we do in Master of You. It's an organized system. It's a sequence, or krama is what they might say in yoga. It's a krama. It's an organized sequential flow that leads to self-mastery with your Dharma, with your bigger purpose via the 5 elements. So I'm just going to read this little section from the intro of Master of You that goes through my exploration with the elements. And after this, we'll get into Dharma a bit of like, what is Dharma? What is purpose? What is duty, responsibility? And how like, what is yours right now? And what are some just really basic tools to start to self-orient to who you want to become next? So Dharma in Master of You really pulls from the concepts of identity evolution, that who you are is being and evolving. So from integral enlightenment, there's the concept of the ground of being and the concept of the evolutionary impulse, and that this is the yin and the yang. This is the two parts that make up the whole. And having awareness of both is crucial. Like being in the ground of being in your beingness is so deeply nourishing. Like that's where you're whole and full and complete, and it's all good all the time, forever, infinitely. And the evolutionary impulse, well, that's where the action is. Like that's where it's going down. That's where like real life is, like awake, where you can make something happen in the world, where you can become a greater version of yourself. That impulse to be greater than you are right now, that exists simultaneously with your own perfection. All right, so I'm going to read from Master of You, written by me, Cate Stillman. So I began sharing the concepts that I was living, which focused on the fundamental creative powers of 5 elements. I learned to elevate my living environment, space, my rooted resilience and strong immune integrity, earth, my vision and planning, fire, my time, air, and my flow state, water. I next codified a 5-element life design system and created an online course to share these tools. The result is this book in your hands, a distilled yet complete version of the system, which has been tested and improved by course members over the years. Along the way, I applied this process again and again to my business, Yogahealer.com, growing both a business team and a volunteer mentoring leadership community. And as a result, it's worked. The business has grown, and in terms of revenue and in terms of getting members' results. I've also followed my dreams of living in 2 countries, the United States and Mexico, surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, and whitewater, and in the ocean, on waves, skiing, mountain biking, snow biking, and being what my child calls a stay-at-home mom, while regularly getting a good night's sleep and making home-cooked meals. The Master of You family-related tools have also been tested by my daughter and husband, evolving our communications and ability to steer towards our individual and collective dreams together. I'm not exceptional, but I am diligent about living my life aligned, and I'll show you how to live your life aligned too. So what I want to say about that is, like, when I talk about my lifestyle, that's a result of my dreams. I want to be really super clear that, like, I don't expect us to have the same dreams, right? Like, my dream might be your worst nightmare. And that's perfect. Like, really, like that's how it should be, right? Like, so my question to you is, like, what are your deeper dreams? Like, what is your life beyond your wildest imagination? Like, where you're like, oh my gosh, that would just be amazeballs. Right. And that's really what it's about. So in the book, in the beginning parts of the book, I talk quite a bit about desire, what the yogis, the tantric yogis call Shakti, where you follow the Shakti, you follow not your superficial desires that just kind of come and go, like I want more chocolate ice cream or whatnot, but like, what are your deeper desires? And what I have found through working with many course members is that people right now in general desire time. Like they're out of rhythm, out of sync with time, with how their time is structured throughout the day, with how they have structured their time. And there's a level, when we start to look at that, there's a level of feeling trapped, that there's not a power to choose. So they're a victim of their schedule, and their schedule's leading to overwhelm, is leading to doing things, needing to do things that they don't actually want to do at at that time. And that feeling is obviously overwhelming, and it's very disempowering to the body. So if the body feels like, if the mind's doing that all the time, I don't want to be doing this, I don't want to be doing this, I don't want to be doing this, I just got to do the grind, or, live for the weekend, which we're trained into. It's so fascinating to see like how, if that's you, if any of that's resonating, where you're like, I want time. I want more time for me, for whatever I want to do. Just ask yourself, like, how long have you had that want? Is this something that's been going on since like junior high, where you started to notice that your majority of time was in school and you were really looking forward to the after school, or looking forward to the weekends, and then that turned into high school, turned into college, turned into the job, so if that's you, you're probably not alone. I've heard this a lot. To actually acknowledge it, like something's got to change for you to step into Dharma, into your life of purpose. Like chances are you can't do that out of sync with nature's rhythm, out of sync with time. So there's a question that I ask in the Unearth Your Deeper Dream to Awaken Your Ambition in that chapter. And the question is, I can't wait until. So write that one down. Like, I can't wait until blank, ? Like what is that for you? Until what? Until what? And then what will you do? Like, what will you do when that has passed? When time and space have opened up, when something else becomes possible? Then what? Then what is that? Now, what we found through doing over 200 dream sessions, when we first launched the Awake Living, we did this Awaken Your Deeper Dream. We did that as a launch series where I started to talk about this stuff. This was years ago. This was like back way before the book. And we had 200 people fill out forms and show up on phone calls to talk about their deeper dreams. And I was shocked. I think I've mentioned this like 5 times already on the podcast, but I was shocked at how many people didn't know what they wanted. Like, it was more of just what they didn't want. They were really awake and aware to what was going on in their lives that they did not want. They didn't want to continue. They didn't want that more. Whether it was poverty or a barely above poverty, whether it was the grind, whether it was relationships that just really weren't working, whether that was with a partner or with professional relationships, etc. So I was shocked, and what I came to realize was that I needed to design more of a process for people to get in touch with their deeper dreams, not just with what wasn't working, although that's important. That's an important part of it, because often there's something in the opposite, right? There's something in that, the spanda is one of the words in yoga that comes to mind, the pulsation of like contraction. And what's the opposite? What's the opposite of that contraction? What's the expansion? What's the expansion of that? So I'm going to read about Dharma for a moment, and then we'll go on. This deep purpose, to heed the call of duty to your own divine ambition, is threaded through in what the yogis call Dharma. Medieval translations of Dharma, like duty, law, and right action, which can be connected to relationship, caste, and vocation, arise from Dharma's ancient meaning in India. More ancient than that, the root of meaning of Dharma is to uphold an obligation, or to support firmly. New Age words like soul purpose, life purpose, and raison d'etre describe the modern interpretation of Dharma. Clearly, Dharma has levels of meaning. American Trappist monk Thomas Merton succinctly wrote this about Dharma. Every man has a vocation to be someone, but he must clearly understand that in order to fulfill this vocation, he can only be one person, himself. In Master of You, you'll explore where heeding your call, your duty to fully participate in your life, is leading next. Dharma points you to a life only you can fulfill and uphold, with less cultural roles and rules than our ancestors, our freedom with Dharma is more accessible, unleashed, and tangible than ever. Dharma also points the way to your singular evolutionary impact as part of a living system, a larger cosmos. As Stephen Cope writes in The Great Work of Your Life, which, as an aside, is a fantastic book, yogis believe that our greatest responsibility in life is to this inner possibility, this Dharma. And they believe that every human being's duty is to utterly, fully, and completely embody his own idiosyncratic Dharma. We should just say her, because chances are you're female if you're listening to this podcast. There's like a 98% chance of that. All right. Your duty to uphold yourself to your best potential authentically and practically while being part of transformational experiences that add connection and meaning to those whose life you touch is your Dharma. In my experience, your Dharma, like a book, reveals itself in chapters, all of which stay true to your book's theme. If you've buried your desires and with them your powerful purpose, it's time to dig it out, dust it off, and treat it like the exquisite jewel that is at the root of your being. You can learn how to listen to Dharma and to give it the gravity it deserves in the conversation of what is next for you to become. In the process, you make the shift from feeling like life is on top of you to feeling like you're on top of life. All right, so this realization of the chapters part was from working with the concepts of teaching Dharma as part of yoga philosophy and Anusara yoga immersions, which I can't remember when I started teaching those. It was a long time ago. And then teaching and living Ayurveda course. Like Dharma actually it's a philosophical concept that comes up a lot when you're teaching yoga and Ayurveda. It's a thing. And it's a thing, when you're growing up in the Western world, you get the question of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You don't get the question of like, who are you and what's your purpose to fulfill? Who are you? Right? And what's your purpose to fulfill, to uphold? So that you uphold your mission of who that's true to you, that only you can do, you snowflake, right? And it can feel so big and so heavy. And that's when I realized like breaking it into chapters, like a book is a gnarly, I would use a swear term there. It's gnarly. It's a big honking heavy thing, 63,800 words. Like it's a lot, it's exhausting, but a chapter, you can do a chapter, a few pages, a section, a paragraph, right? You just start to break it down. You start to break it down and you look for the themes. Like, what are the themes of your book, of you? What are the themes of this purpose that you're here to uphold, to fulfill? And what's in the next chapter, right? And that's what we found in the Awake Living course. That's what we find in really working with these concepts is that if we get into just like, what's the book so far and what's the next chapter, we can start to back up and see the bigger themes. And then we can take aligned action in a way that there's an efficiency and a progress and a flow that starts to become possible. So a few other questions I'll leave you with is who would you like to become next? Like imagine that's possible. You can be anyone next. Like who would you like to become next? And it's important to leave the rational mind aside. Like let that rational mind just like go for, as my dad would say, a long walk off a short pier. Right? Just let that out. Let the dogs out and then just play. Okay? Like where does your imagination go? So these 3 questions, I can't wait until who I'd like to become next is the next purpose hidden at the very root of myself may be blank. These 3 questions, what I want you to do is write, just write. I can't wait until blank. Who I'd like to become next is blank. The next hidden purpose at the very root of myself may be blank. And it's playful, it's imaginative. So you're going to write and write and write and then read it in bed before you go to sleep and again when you wake up. And these times are times when liminal thinking beyond your normal threshold of your patterned mind, thinking beyond the rational mind. That's when liminal thinking is most active. So as you read your words, before you go to bed and when you wake up, edit them to be true. Just like a bike mechanic trues the spoke of a wheel to remove the wobble, to align the spokes, and to optimize efficiencies. So you're awakening the creative agent in your life, an identity that you'll develop through mastering you. And in this self-mastery process, you will honor your root, reoccurring desires to guide your future, to steer your path. All right, so this is my first episode on Master of You. The next few episodes, I'm going to get into each of the elements so that you can start to align your space. In that episode, we'll talk a bit about what is Dharma and getting organized at home. What does that mean? Where do you start? What's happening in your environment? Is there clutter? Is it organized? What's minimalism have to do with it? How much stuff is like what your future self desires? So we'll get into that. And then we'll get into episodes that really go through element by element. So we'll go into time, we'll go into achieving goals or ambition. We'll get into building healthier relationships and what that means in terms of your Dharma, and Dharma and earth element, or caring for your body. So I look forward to doing this series and introducing you to Master of You. And I hope you buy the book. I hope you start talking about the book. I hope you do the book with a friend. And if you want to be in the book with me, then you're a great fit for Awake Living. In any of our episodes now, you're hearing that the way to find out if you're a good fit for one of our courses is to go to yogahealer.com/conversation and to sign up for a free conversation with someone on my team to talk about you and your dreams. And if there's a way we can help you, we'll let you know the next steps. All right. Cheers to your Dharma and your exploration. Namaste. This is Cate Stillman and the Yoga Healer Show.